Love may be a battlefield, but infidelity is the real war zone. From fleeting mistakes to full-fledged extramarital affairs, the consequences of infidelity can wreak havoc on families, leaving behind a trail of broken hearts, and, sometimes, even the scars of death. In this story, the lives of two married couples, though seemingly on opposite trajectories, collide in a dramatic fashion. For Rob and Candy Hall, it was love at first sight. They met at a local gym in California and instantly formed a connection. By 2010, when they moved to Idaho, Rob and Candy had been together for 15 years and had two teenage daughters. They settled in the beautiful city of Meridian, the second largest city outside Boise, known for its affordable cost of living, and numerous outdoor activities like skiing, hiking, and fishing. Rob worked as a skilled computer technician at the local sheriff's office, while Candy excelled in her role as a legal assistant at a criminal defense law firm. However, their marriage took a heavy blow when Candy discovered Rob had been unfaithful. Though they decided to work on their relationship, Candy still faced challenges in her career, including being fired less than a year later in September 2010, an unfortunate setback after their move to Idaho. Candy faced unexpected challenges both in her work and family life, leaving her feeling unfulfilled. As she struggled to navigate through the storms of her personal and professional life, she remained determined to find a new job in the legal field. Her search led her to meet Emmett Corrigan, a 30-year-old ambitious lawyer, awaiting the results of the bar exam. Their meeting was a chance encounter, arranged through a mutual friend. Although Emmett initially only discussed work, he soon found that he needed a legal assistant for his office. Emmett Corrigan was an up-and-coming star in the legal world, with a confident, decisive, and charming demeanor. Shortly after passing the bar exam, he opened his own law firm, focusing on criminal defense. However, his success wasn't limited to his career. He also had a loving wife and 4 beautiful children at home. In 2003, Emmett met his future wife, Ashley, at Utah State University. They quickly fell in love and married in March 2004 at a Mormon temple. While Emmett worked hard to build his career, Ashley dedicated herself to raising their children and supporting her husband's legal ambitions. On the surface, Emmett seemed to be at the pinnacle of the world, with a loving family and a thriving career. However, behind closed doors, some people had a different view of him, seeing him as aggressive, cunning, and ruthless. This left many wondering how far he would go to get what he wanted, and what dark secrets lay hidden behind his charming exterior. When Emmett opened his law firm, he made plans to succeed and knew that a dedicated legal assistant would be the key to realizing his dream. So, in October 2010, he hired Candy Hall, and it wasn't long before she proved to be a valuable asset to the office. However, their relationship soon went beyond the scope of work, and it didn't escape the notice of others. Rumors about their romantic involvement quickly spread throughout the law firm. As Candy settled into her new job, some of Emmett's past mistakes finally caught up with him. Just a few weeks after being hired at Emmett's firm, his former employer reported him to the police following an audit, accusing him of financial misconduct. They claimed that Candy had transferred $32,500 from the business client account to her personal account. With mounting legal and personal issues, Candy's life was rapidly falling apart. At home, her husband, Rob, grew increasingly suspicious of Emmett's behavior after Candy started working at his office. From the start, Rob didn't like Emmett, and his intuition told him that something was wrong. His suspicions were clear in an email he sent to Candy on January 2, 2011, in which he wrote that he was still shocked that Candy continued texting Emmett and deleting the messages. He mentioned that every time he felt uneasy, Candy would throw the phone at him so he could see Emmett's messages. He wrote that Candy had sunk to a new low in his eyes, wished him and Emmett good luck, and said the honeymoon phase was over, that he would soon be alone. He concluded with the phrase, "Karma will come, and you'll get what you deserve." By the end of January, Rob and Emmett had a heated argument in the parking lot behind the office, which led Emmett to post on Facebook. One late evening in February 2011, Emmett sent a late-night message to Candy saying he hoped to be with her tonight, which caught Rob's attention. In a fit of rage, Rob called Emmett, asking why he was contacting his wife at this hour. Soon after, the two men showed up at Rob's house, the tension so high that they nearly came to blows. After the confrontation, Rob heartbrokenly faced Candy and said that he had won, that Emmett was young, handsome, full of desire, and that he had helped Emmett make a lot of money, while he had nothing. Rob was devastated, but the trouble between him and Emmett was just beginning. A few weeks later, Emmett posted something on Facebook that seemed especially designed to humiliate Rob both privately and publicly. Meanwhile, Emmett's wife, Ashley, was in the final stages of her pregnancy and noticed that Emmett had been distant from the family for months, which left her feeling worried, and the kids felt the same. Although she was looking forward to their upcoming anniversary to rekindle the romance between them, Emmett told her he had to attend a bodybuilding conference. In an attempt to save their marriage, Ashley came up with a plan to reignite their passion. Unfortunately, she didn't know that Emmett and Candy had their own plans, leading to a dangerous turning point. On the morning of March 11th, Candy and Emmett met with a divorce lawyer, who later testified in court that Candy had never seriously considered divorce, and that it was Emmett who pushed her to do so. However, the media reported that Emmett had filed for divorce on her behalf. That evening, Candy finished work at 6 p.m. When she arrived home, she found Rob waiting for her in the garage. The two argued, with Rob expressing his frustration that Candy didn't care enough, and he eventually stormed out of the house around 8:45 p.m. Soon after, Candy also left. She drove out of the driveway and called Emmett, telling him she was heading to the Walgreens pharmacy to pick up some medication. Meanwhile, Ashley was preparing a special dinner for Emmett, unaware of what was about to happen. Emmett came home late and said he had already eaten. After dinner, Ashley thought it was the right moment to kiss Emmett, but he turned his face away. Disappointed, she decided to confront the issues in their relationship, but Emmett flew into a rage. Then, her phone rang. She stepped into another room to answer, and it was a call from Candy. Candy told Emmett that she was on her way to Walgreens, and Emmett agreed to meet her, leaving Ashley alone and confused at home. Ashley begged Emmett to stay, but he coldly responded, telling her not to worry about what he was going to do. After meeting at Walgreens, Candy got into Emmett's truck, and they drove to a remote area nearby, repeating what had happened earlier that morning. At the same time, Candy's daughter happened to drive past the pharmacy and saw her mother's car parked there. She called Candy but got no answer, so she reached out to her father to ask what was going on. Eventually, Candy returned the call, telling her daughter that she was just out for a walk with a female friend. However, by now, an angry and suspicious Rob had arrived at Walgreens. He searched relentlessly and called Candy, but there was no response. Several minutes later, he finally got in touch with Candy, but when he unexpectedly heard a man's voice, he was taken aback. Emmett said, "What's up?" and then told Rob, "Yeah, he's with me. We're talking about life. What's your problem?" Emmett responded. He then added, "I'm going to smash your head in. Just wait. We'll be right there." By 10 p.m., Rob, Candy, and Emmett all arrived at Walgreens. Before getting out of the car to face Emmett, Rob pulled a gun from the holster in the center console and slipped it into his hoodie pocket. Rob approached Emmett and Candy, asking, "What's going on?" Emmett replied, "He doesn't want to be with you." Rob looked at Emmett and asked, "He wants to be with you." Emmett responded, "He doesn't want to be with you." "I mean, how much did you make last year?" $40,000. "Candy, how much did we make last week?" $27,000. "I make that much in a week, Rob. You've got nothing." Rob looked at Candy and said, "But think about it. He's got 5 kids, Candy." Then he turned to Emmett and said, "And his poor wife is pregnant at home, while he's out here with my wife." That was enough to make Emmett push Rob in the chest. Candy stepped in, trying to break up the argument, thinking everything was over. He turned to walk back to his car, but suddenly chaos erupted. When the police arrived on the scene, they found Rob standing there while Emmett was lying on the ground. Emmett had been shot in the head and chest, but it was too late to save him. Rob had a grazing bullet wound on the upper left side of his head, just inches away from death. Later, a medical expert testified that while the bullet didn't penetrate or fracture his skull, it caused both internal and external brain damage. As a result, Rob developed retrograde amnesia. The statement Rob gave to the police after the shooting was confusing, making it difficult for authorities to determine whether he was shot during a struggle or if he had shot himself. However, subsequent forensic tests revealed that Rob's hands contained a large amount of gunpowder residue, while Emmett's hands only had a small amount. Rob was taken by ambulance to a local hospital for treatment and was arrested. With no other witnesses, Candy became the only person who could clarify the events leading to the fatal confrontation. Rob pleaded not guilty and was held on a $1 million bail. As for Candy, his legal troubles continued. More than 2 months after the shooting, Boise police arrested Candy on charges of grand theft, suspecting he had embezzled $32,500 from his former employer. He was released on $100,000 bail while awaiting trial. During the trial, the prosecution presented evidence supporting the theory that Rob had planned to kill Emmett. They described Rob as an angry, jealous man, determined to track down his wife's lover. They argued that Rob had shot Emmett twice before pointing the gun at himself. Key evidence included gunpowder residue, emails proving the affair that Rob brought to Walgreens, showing he was in an angry state, and testimony from a firearms expert, who stated that no one would draw a gun from a holster unless they intended to aim it at someone or something. The defense argued that if Rob was angry, it was only because he had been driven to the brink of madness and humiliation by his wife's affair with her boss. They attempted to portray Emmett as an extremely aggressive and hot-headed individual. They claimed that during the argument with Emmett, the gun in Rob's hoodie pocket fell out. Emmett grabbed the weapon first and shot Rob, but Rob was only lightly wounded. Rob stated that he didn't remember what happened afterward. In Candy's testimony, he made several conflicting statements, and his description of the shooting differed from his previous testimony. For example, he testified in court that he heard 3 gunshots, describing it as one bang, then a pause, and then another bang. However, according to another witness's account of Candy, there were 2 gunshots, followed by a pause, and then one more shot. After the trial and deliberation by the jury, Rob was ultimately convicted of murder. The jury found Rob guilty of second-degree murder, and he was sentenced to 30 years in prison, with eligibility for parole after serving at least 17.5 years. Rob is currently serving his sentence at a prison in Idaho, and will be eligible for parole in 2028. Unfortunately, the Hall family's legal troubles didn't end there. Candy pleaded guilty to theft in April 2013, and was sentenced to 14 years in prison, with the initial condition that she serve at least 2 years before being eligible for parole. Fortunately, the judge later placed her in a program to maintain jurisdiction, allowing her to participate in a 6-month treatment program in prison. As a result, Candy was released in June 2014 and will remain on probation until 2026. This case left behind deep sorrow, as it demonstrates the devastating consequences of infidelity and the loss of emotional control in marriage. Ashley lost the man she loved, and the children lost their father. This pain is indescribable, as the value of a life cannot be measured by anything. I believe that infidelity in marriage is unacceptable, as it betrays the trust and commitment between 2 people. If someone feels they cannot remain faithful to their vows, they should be honest with their partner, rather than secretly betraying them. Even if there are issues in a marriage, they should be addressed maturely and respectfully, not through infidelity and deceit. In this world, we should pursue love, trust, and respect, fundamental elements to build meaningful and lasting relationships. Infidelity and emotional instability only lead to suffering and hurt, which we should not tolerate. We need to pay more attention to our relationships and strive to be better partners, better people,